Psalm 37 is a prayer for justice, protection, and God's faithfulness in the face of the wickedness and arrogance of the ungodly. In this second part, verses 15 to 27, we will delve, verse by verse, into this inspiring continuation that teaches us to live with patience, meekness, and firm hope in the Lord's providence. Are you ready to experience a profound reflection that strengthens faith and renews the heart amidst adversity? In the first part, verses 1 to 14, we learn to trust in divine justice, not to be indignant at the prosperity of the wicked, and to practice patience, meekness, and integrity. Now, in this second part, we will see how God sustains the righteous, providing protection, provision, and security, even when evildoers seem to dominate the scene. It is an invitation to realize that God's faithfulness is continually manifested in the lives of those who seek Him and trust in His Word. If you have ever felt helpless in the face of adversity, injustice, or hostility, Psalm 37 is for you. It reminds us that God observes every situation, acts in favor of the righteous, and protects those who seek Him with sincere faith. This is an opportunity to strengthen your confidence, cultivate patience, and learn to rest in divine providence, knowing that your every step is supported by the Lord's care. Stay until the end because, in addition to a profound and transformative reflection, we will pray together, inspired by this psalm, a prayer that will renew your faith, strengthen your hope, and awaken courage to remain steadfast, even in the face of life's injustices or challenges. Throughout this meditation, we understand true security and peace do not come from circumstances, but from the certainty that God is our refuge, provider, and constant sustainer.
Verse 15, but their sword will pierce their own hearts, and their bows will be broken.
The psalmist here describes the inevitable reversal of divine justice. What the wicked plot against the righteous turns against them. The sword they raise with intent to wound ends up striking their own heart, and the bows they arrogantly draw break in their hands. This powerful image reveals that wickedness never goes unpunished before God. The verse dismantles the wicked's false sense of power, showing that evil carries within itself the seeds of its own downfall. By stating that the sword returns to the heart of the wicked, the text reminds us that God governs every detail of human history. No plot, attack, or destructive intention escapes His eyes. The wicked may act boldly, conspire confidently, and attack violently, but their end is already determined. What they sow, they reap. God intervenes not only to protect the righteous, but also to limit and disarm the power of evil. There is no lasting victory built on injustice. Applying this teaching today means resting in the certainty that God will reverse all injustice in due time, even when we do not yet see the outcome. Faced with attacks, slander, or wicked schemes that rise up against us, we are called to trust in God's action, without taking vengeance into our own hands. The righteous learn to walk with serenity, knowing that no weapon forged prospers when God is at the forefront, and that every injustice faced will become a testament to divine faithfulness. To reflect, am I trusting in God's justice when evil tries to rise up against me? Have I remembered that God Himself destroys the enemy's weapons? Am I resting in the certainty that He will reverse all injustice in His perfect time?
Verse 16, better is the little that the righteous have than the abundance of many wicked.
The psalmist shows us here the true measure of value in life. It is not the quantity of possessions or riches that defines our happiness or security, but justice and integrity. To have little, but to live according to God's principles, is infinitely better than to possess much and act in an ungodly and unjust way. Valuing righteousness above wealth is a timeless principle that protects the heart from the temptations of the world. God reminds us that true wealth is spiritual. The comparison between the righteous and the wicked reveals God's eternal perspective. While the wicked may accumulate wealth and appear successful, their prosperity is fleeting and does not bring true security. The righteous, however, even with little, are sustained by God's faithfulness and provision. This verse teaches us to trust that God provides and that what He gives is sufficient, protecting us from anxiety and envy. The security of the righteous does not depend on fortune, but on God's constant presence and loving care. Applying this verse to our lives today means recognizing that true happiness lies not in material possessions, but in integrity, faith, and trust in God. We must learn to be content with what we have, maintaining righteousness in our decisions and actions. Avoiding comparisons with those who accumulate wealth unjustly helps us cultivate gratitude and inner peace. This principle protects us from selfishness, envy, and excessive ambition. May our priority always be to live according to God's will. To reflect, do I value my integrity more than material possessions? Do I trust that God sustains me even with little? How can I cultivate contentment and gratitude in my daily life?
Verse 17, For the arms of the wicked will be broken, but the Lord upholds the righteous.
The psalmist shows us here that divine justice protects the righteous and limits the power of the wicked. The broken arms symbolize the inability of those who practice evil to prevail against those who trust in God. It is a reminder that, although the wicked may seem strong temporarily, their strength is fleeting and powerless before divine authority and care. God is the one who sustains, protects, and guarantees the victory of the righteous in His perfect time. He teaches us that His providence is faithful and powerful. While the wicked fail in their schemes, the righteous find safe refuge in the presence of the Lord. The promise of divine support offers emotional and spiritual security amidst challenges, persecution, or external pressures. Trusting in God allows us to remain steadfast, even when everything around us indicates instability or injustice. This verse reinforces that the strength of the righteous is not in their own abilities, but in the faithfulness of God, who never abandons those who seek Him. Applying this verse to the present day means not despair in the face of the arrogance or apparent strength of the wicked. We must remember that God sustains us in all situations and that our safety does not depend on our own ability. Trusting in the Lord helps us to act with wisdom, patience, and integrity, even in the face of pressure or threat. This protects us from acting impulsively or seeking revenge on our own. The righteous find peace in the certainty that God never fails. To reflect, am I trusting the Lord to sustain me through difficulties? How can I rest in God's strength instead of my own? Am I letting Him guide my actions in the face of challenges and injustices?
Verse 18, The Lord knows the days of the righteous, and their inheritance will endure forever.
The psalmist shows us here God's attention and care for those who live righteously. Knowing the days indicates that He is attentive to every moment of the lives of the righteous, protecting and blessing them. The eternal inheritance mentioned goes beyond material possessions, pointing to lasting blessings that include peace, joy, protection, and spiritual reward. This verse reminds us that faithfulness and integrity before God have eternal value and that He never abandons those who follow Him. While the wicked may prosper temporarily, their inheritance is fleeting and unstable, contrasting with the permanence of the blessings promised to the righteous. This verse reinforces God's eternal perspective, where true reward lies in faithfulness, righteousness, and trust in Him. The days of the righteous are under divine watchfulness, and their lives are guided and protected, even when they face challenges. The awareness of His watchfulness strengthens faith. Applying this verse today means living with integrity, trusting that God is attentive to every detail of our lives. We should prioritize righteousness, honesty, and obedience to His word, without seeking immediate rewards or comparisons with the wicked. Understanding that our inheritance is eternal helps us face difficulties with courage and hope. This transforms our vision of success and happiness, focusing us on the blessings that come from God. To reflect, am I living with integrity, trusting that God watches over and cares for me? How can I value my eternal inheritance above temporal riches? Am I patient and persevering, knowing that my reward is in God?
Verse 19. They will not be ashamed in bad times. In days of famine they will have plenty.
The psalmist reveals to us the divine protection and provision for those who live righteously. Even in times of difficulty, the righteous will not be humiliated or forsaken. The promise of abundance in days of famine symbolizes God's constant care, ensuring that His blessings manifest themselves even in adverse circumstances. This verse reinforces the idea that justice has lasting value and that faithfulness to God brings real and concrete security. Trusting in God gives us courage and emotional stability. While the wicked may prosper temporarily, their resources and power are unstable and fleeting. The righteous, however, even when facing difficulties, find support and provision in God's hand. This verse teaches us that divine care never fails, even in the darkest or most critical moments of life. It strengthens faith and encourages perseverance, reminding us that God honors those who seek Him sincerely. Trust in His providence gives us continuous hope and encouragement. Applying this verse today means facing adversity with faith, knowing that God will provide what we need at the right time. We must maintain integrity and patience, even when resources or situations seem scarce. Trusting in God's justice and care transforms our hearts, driving away fear, anxiety, and despair. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen our faith and depend on His providence. To reflect, am I trusting in God's provision even in times of difficulty? How can I maintain my faith when facing scarcity or challenges? Am I patient, knowing that He always provides for His perfect timing?
Verse 20. But the wicked will perish. The enemies of the Lord will vanish like the fat of lambs. They will disappear like smoke.
The psalmist reveals the inevitable consequence of wickedness, the destruction of those who oppose God. The metaphor of the melting fat of rams symbolizes the fragility and transience of the prosperity of the wicked. Even if they seem strong or dominant, their power is ephemeral and their defeat is certain. This verse reminds us of divine justice, which acts in perfect timing, ensuring that evil does not prevail. While the wicked face destruction and loss, the righteous stand firm under the Lord's protection. This contrast highlights God's faithfulness and sovereignty, who sustains and defends those who follow Him. Knowing that divine justice is real strengthens faith, encouraging us to maintain integrity and patience even when facing injustice. The defeat of the wicked is certain, while the righteous experience the security of divine care. Applying this verse today means not despairing or making hasty decisions in the face of others' wickedness. We must maintain our faith and trust in God's justice, knowing that He acts in favor of those who love Him. When we feel envy or fear in the face of the apparent success of the wicked, this verse reminds us that everything is fleeting and that God rewards faithfulness. Maintaining integrity and patience allows us to rest assured that He is just and faithful. This transforms our hearts and strengthens our hope. To reflect, am I trusting in God's justice in the face of the wickedness of others? How can I avoid envy or anxiety over the apparent success of the ungodly? Am I maintaining integrity and patience while waiting for God to act?
Verse 21. The wicked man borrows and does not repay, but the righteous man shows compassion and gives.
The psalmist presents us here with a moral contrast between the wicked and the righteous in their handling of resources and responsibilities. The wicked act selfishly and unjustly, seeking personal gain without honoring commitments. The righteous, on the other hand, demonstrate generosity and empathy, sharing and helping those in need. This verse reveals that character and integrity are worth more than wealth or momentary advantage. While the wicked are guided by self-interest, the righteous act with love and compassion. This contrast shows that the actions of the heart define our true wealth and influence. Those who are compassionate and give experience lasting blessings, while those who deceive and take unjustly face consequences. Integrity guarantees us security before God and keeps us at inner peace. Applying this verse to modern times means being honest in our finances, commitments, and relationships. We should practice generosity, helping those in need and honoring our agreements. Avoiding greed and acting with empathy strengthens our character and our faith. Every act of kindness becomes a testament to our trust in God and His principles. Divine reward accompanies those who do good. To reflect, am I acting with honesty and generosity in my daily life? How can I practice more compassion and empathy for others? Do my actions reflect integrity and God's principles?
Verse 22. For those whom the Lord blesses will inherit the land, but those whom He curses will be destroyed.
The psalmist here highlights the enduring difference between the lives of the righteous and the wicked. The righteous receive continuous blessings, not only in their own lives, but reflected in their family and legacy. God's prosperity and protection extend to those who faithfully follow His ways. The wicked, however, even if they experience moments of advantage, will face destruction and instability, affecting even their descendants. It is a call to live responsibly before God and others. While the descendants of the wicked suffer the consequences of their bad choices, the righteous experience protection, prosperity, and spiritual continuity. God values faithfulness, honesty, and justice, rewarding not only the individual but also those who are part of their lives. The reward of the righteous is the fruit of trust and obedience to God, establishing a positive and lasting legacy. Applying this verse today means recognizing that our choices affect not only ourselves, but also those around us. Living with integrity, compassion, and justice protects our legacy and positively influences our family and community. Trusting God to sustain and bless our lives helps us act wisely in important decisions. The righteous plant seeds that blossom into continuous blessings. To reflect, am I living in a way that my life and legacy reflect justice and faithfulness? How do my choices affect those around me? Am I trusting in God less continuously to the life of two righteous people?
Verse 23. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and His way pleases Him.
The psalmist teaches us that God guides and confirms every step of those who live righteously. It's not just about walking without error, but about having divine guidance in every decision, big or small. When we trust in the Lord, our path is strengthened and our choices receive purpose and direction. God's favor indicates that He rejoices in seeing His will being practiced sincerely. This verse shows that righteousness is not only a duty, but also a path that brings pleasure to God. While the wicked walk guided by their own desires, often stumbling and being led astray, the righteous experience security and stability. God accompanies, protects, and validates every step taken in faith. This does not mean the absence of difficulties, but rather the certainty that even in challenges, the Lord is present, strengthening our path. It is an encouragement to consistency and confidence. Applying this verse today means seeking divine guidance in all our decisions, small or large. It means consulting the Word, praying, and trusting that God confirms our steps when they are aligned with His will. When we feel insecure or face obstacles, we can rest assured that He guides and strengthens our path. Every choice made with righteousness reinforces our faith and draws us closer to God's will. To reflect, am I seeking God's guidance in every decision I make? Do my choices reflect righteousness and please the Lord? How can I trust more in divine confirmation on my path?
Verse 24. Though he falls, he will not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholds him with His hand.
The psalmist shows us that divine protection accompanies the righteous even in moments of weakness or error. Falling is natural in human life, but the difference lies in the support that God offers. He does not allow the righteous to remain defeated, but lifts them up and gives them strength to continue. This verse reveals the Lord's constant care, who holds each one with his mighty hand. Trust in God allows us to face challenges without fear of failure. While the wicked may fall and remain prostrated, the righteous have God's support to rise again. The Lord's hand acts as a firm support, restoring strength and courage. This teaches us that relying on one's own strength is limited, but trusting in divine providence guarantees stability and renewal. Falling is not the final defeat. It is a moment when God's grace and help are manifested. This verse reinforces the importance of active faith and resilient hope, even in the most difficult times. Applying this verse today means accepting our failures and challenges with humility, trusting that God will lift us up. It means not despairing in the face of emotional, spiritual, or professional setbacks, knowing that He is always present. When we trust in His support, we develop the courage to face obstacles without fear. Each difficulty becomes an opportunity to strengthen our faith and experience divine care. Living this way transforms frustrations into learning and confidence into action. To reflect, am I trusting in God's provision even when facing difficulties? How can I surrender my falls and failures to the Lord's mighty hand? Am I allowing Him to lift me up and strengthen my path?
Verse 25. I was young and now I am old, but I have never seen the righteous forsaken or their children begging bread.
The psalmist reflects on his own life experience, observing God's faithfulness to those who follow Him. He highlights that, throughout the years, the righteous have never been abandoned, and their families have been preserved. Divine protection is not only for the individual but extends to generations. This verse shows that trusting in God guarantees continuous provision, security, and sustenance. Trust in His faithfulness transcends temporary difficulties, offering long-term security. While many may experience uncertainty or scarcity, the righteous have the assurance that God will provide for their needs. The psalmist's life is a testament to God's constant action, even amidst change, challenges, and aging. This verse reinforces that faithfulness to God produces stability and protection, not only material but also spiritual and emotional. It is a powerful reminder that divine faithfulness is reliable and visible. Applying this verse today means fully trusting that God will provide for all essential needs. It means teaching and practicing principles of righteousness, knowing that our faithfulness positively influences the lives of our family and community. Trusting in His protection allows us to act with courage, without fear of scarcity or abandonment. Living this way brings us peace and security in all phases of life. To reflect, am I trusting in God's provision and care for me and my family? How does my faithfulness influence the generations around me? Am I seeking to live righteously, knowing that God takes care of every detail of my life?
Verse 26. The righteous man is compassionate, lends generously, and conducts his affairs with integrity.
The psalmist highlights the ethical and generous conduct of the righteous, showing that they not only care for themselves but also for others. Lending means helping without seeking immediate return, while integrity in business demonstrates honesty and transparency. Compassion is a central element in the lives of those who follow God, reflecting His principles in practical actions. God values every act of righteousness and compassion. While the wicked may seek personal gain without regard for others, the righteous act with responsibility and empathy. This attitude builds trust, respect, and credibility in all contexts. The verse reinforces that integrity yields lasting results, both in personal and professional relationships. The actions of the righteous inspire others and create environments of trust and collaboration. It is a reminder that our practical lives should reflect our faith and spiritual values. Applying this verse today means conducting business, relationships, and daily responsibilities with honesty and generosity. We should help those in need, act transparently, and avoid exploiting others for our own benefit. Every ethical action strengthens our faith and witness before God and those around us. Integrity and compassion should guide every decision. To reflect, do my daily actions reflect compassion and integrity? How can I practice generosity and honesty in my business dealings and relationships? Am I conducting my life in a way that honors God in every decision?
Verse 27. Turn away from evil and do good. Then you will dwell in the land forever.
The psalmist guides us to turn away from evil practices and attitudes, always seeking good in our actions and thoughts. This conscious choice to reject evil and embrace good generates stability and spiritual security. Staying on the right path depends not only on avoiding error, but also on cultivating goodness, justice, and faithfulness to God. This verse reinforces the importance of moral discipline and the constant pursuit of holiness. While evil may seem attractive or advantageous momentarily, good brings lasting benefits and security. The practice of justice creates a solid foundation for life, protecting against instability, regrets, and negative consequences. God rewards those who follow Him sincerely, and turning away from evil ensures that our actions are aligned with His principles. It is an invitation to consciously, daily, and perseveringly choose good, which produces eternal benefits. Applying this verse today means making intentional decisions to avoid bad influences and harmful actions. It means cultivating kindness, generosity, and justice in all areas of life, trusting that God will sustain our path. Each choice to turn away from evil strengthens faith and protects our future. It is a call to constantly practice good. To reflect, am I turning away from evil and seeking to do good in all areas of my life? Do my daily actions reflect kindness and justice? How can I cultivate a life that ensures spiritual security and eternal stability? When we reflect on the second part of Psalm 37, verses 15 to 27, we realize that faithfulness to God is rewarded with guidance, protection, and stability in our lives. Each verse reminds us that even in the face of wickedness and injustice, those who walk in righteousness receive the Lord's care and sustenance. Trusting in His providence allows us to live with peace, courage, and hope, knowing that He watches our steps and lifts us up when we fall. May this meditation lead us to strengthen our faith, cultivate compassion, and guide our paths with righteousness, knowing that the Lord is attentive to every detail. By applying the teachings of this second part of Psalm 37, we learn to turn away from evil, practice good, and trust that God's hand sustains our lives. Every decision guided by faith produces fruits of peace, security, and joy, not only for ourselves but also for those around us. Now that we understand the meaning of each verse in the second part of Psalm 37, I invite you to continue meditating and praying for 6 more days. Read each verse as a declaration of trust in God's faithfulness, allowing His guidance and protection to direct your daily decisions and actions. May this practice strengthen your heart, bringing security even amidst injustice and adversity. Trust that the Lord never abandons those who walk in righteousness. And to seal this message in our hearts, we invite you to pray and keep with you this prayer inspired by Psalm 37, Part 2, verses from 15 to 27. Return to it whenever you feel the weight of injustice, external pressures, or discouragement in the face of challenges. Remember that God is just, observes our paths, and strengthens those who trust in Him. Remain steadfast, with faith, courage, and a heart fully surrendered, until He fulfills every promise over your life.
Prayer inspired by Psalm 37, Part 2, verses from 15 to 27. Almighty God, thank You for Your unfailing faithfulness and for sustaining those who walk in righteousness. We thank You for showing us that even in the face of injustice and evil, we can trust in Your constant care. Help us to remain steadfast, to act with integrity and compassion, and to conduct our lives justly. Strengthen our hearts when we face challenges and lift us up when we stumble. May we always walk under your protection, trusting that every act of faith and kindness is seen by you. Teach us to depend fully on your sustaining hand. Father, guide us to turn away from evil and seek good in all our actions, thoughts, and decisions. May our attitudes reflect your justice and love, and may we be instruments of peace and righteousness in our homes, workplaces, and communities. Renew our trust in you, even when everything around us seems unstable or unjust. May hope and faith flourish in our hearts, reminding us that you watch our every step and reward every faithful choice. Teach us to practice generosity, compassion, and honesty daily. May each day be an opportunity to glorify your name with integrity. Lord, strengthen us to persevere, even when adversity seems intense or prolonged. Help us to keep our eyes fixed on you, trusting that every act of faithfulness brings lasting security and blessing. May we teach and inspire others by our example of righteousness, showing that true security and peace come from you. Renew our hope and courage to face every challenge with faith. May our lives be marked by constant trust in your providence and the desire to live according to your principles. Sustain us always, Lord, and make our journey an expression of your glory. In the name of Jesus, amen.
If this message touched your heart, like this video and share it with someone who needs to be reminded of God's justice and protection. They hold the righteous endure even in the face of the wickedness of the ungodly. May we recognize, together, that amidst the adversities and arrogance of the world, it is the presence of the Lord that guides us, protects us, and strengthens us. Subscribe to the channel to continue following in-depth reflections on the Psalms. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any study, and leave your prayer request in the comments. It will be a joy to intercede for you with love, faith, and hope. May every word of this psalm inspire you to remain steadfast in your trust in the one who never fails and who sustains our lives with eternal love and constant provision. Until the next video, may God bless your life, your family, and your business.